Lepanto, the Italian Tier 9 tech tree battleship, is finally live on the public server for everyone to research. Described as a further development of the Vittorio Veneto class, the main features of this ship are her 3 quadruple turrets, full-speed smoke generator, and immensely majestic size. In stock form, this ship has a mediocre 37-second reload and 72,000 hit points, but this configuration I'm testing with has that modified to 32 seconds and 76,000 hit points, along with the researchable 18.1km main gun range and standard 7km secondary battery range. Lepanto utilises 12 381mm guns that at this time fire identical shells to that of Caracciolo, Veneto and Colombo. This is both a positive and a negative, as we shall see. I have equipped for a standard battleship damage control / main battery build, and chosen the spotting aircraft over the fighter, as the range benefit is simply necessary when facing most, if not all, of the ships found at tiers 9 and 10, and the current state of anti-air mechanics leaves much to be desired, no matter what you do. My 13-point commander uses gun feeder, preventative maintenance, greased gears, AA gunner, adrenaline rush, and deadeye, and is intended to simulate a general build that the average player would start with. The random battle you're about to see involves a variety of ships from tiers 8, 9 and 10, and should give an impression of a normal session at the helm of Lepanto. Okay, voiceover Will here, and you're joining me after I've just been dropped for a quarter of my health once this fire burns out by the enemy Midway. Of course, Midway is a tier above Lepanto, but does that mean a lot in World of Warships? I don't think it does, considering that there is no tier 9 aircraft carrier at the moment. I'm turning away, hoping that the carrier doesn't send another squadron after me, although I don't exactly know where he is. I'm trying to get a clear shot around that island, and generally trying to reposition. The anti-aircraft batteries of Lepanto are nothing outside of solidly mediocre. This ship will be able to deal with aircraft if they're attacking in smaller numbers, especially when you've got another ship with you, such as the Izumo that's coming up from starboard there. But I would not recommend going on your own against the enemy carrier, as you'll see later this match. So I'm in a little bit of a group of ships here, and we're all slowly pushing up on A, trying to see what's happening. I'm going to take the shot on a Margie's broadside. I don't have armor piercing loaded, but SAP will do an awful lot of damage, depending on RNG. In that case, I got 2 penetrations, and penetrations is what you want, so that's not the worst thing that can happen there by any means. I'm keeping semi-armor piercing loaded because there are a couple of cruisers up in front of me, and I'll be able to hurt battleships with it, if not straight away delete them. As things stand, and with Lepanto's accuracy, the chances of getting multiple shells on a target are good, but all 12 of them are probably not going to hit unless you have an awful lot of luck on your side, and there you can see I've just missed the Riga. The Riga is quite heavily armoured anyway. Haven't had the most luck in citadeling that in the future, or the past for that matter. Does that matter when I have SAP loaded? Not particularly. There's the Amagi emerging from behind an island there, and we can get another shot off. Let's see how that does in a minute. But our team isn't entirely pressing forwards on this cap, mostly because of the arrangement of the islands and how we are, but we will take it in a short while. By now the fire is out, and because my commander has adrenaline rush, I'm not going to repair it. As I've got just below 3/4 of my health left, my reload is lurking at around about 30 seconds. I haven't actually felt much of a problem with Lepanto's reload. Vittorio Veneto's 33-second reload did feel lengthy at times, but not restrictive. I would not want to play Lepanto with a 37-second reload, especially not in this current meta, considering how Deadeye A isn't active most of the time. That very narrow band of concealment between 14.9km and 18.1 simply isn't enough. It is enough to warrant Deadeye, but it is not enough to keep your salvos consistently accurate. Whilst we're enjoying a little standoff at capture point number A, our battleship and destroyer up at sea have had some success, although yes, that was the Paolo Emilio doing what it does best and taking out our Richelieu. That does put us in not a bit of a disadvantage, I mean. And now the enemy Lepanto is trying to come up on us, probably trying to take the cap, along with the Riga and the key lurking behind him. For the present, however, the B cap remains uncontested. I'm starting to take a little bit of fire from something up there, but that's not an issue as of yet. We're 12 minutes in and up at the moment, and as my pressing issue is dealing with these ships today, unfortunately I cannot do much up at sea. There goes the Bismarck, probably trying to get his hydro on A in case there's any torpedoes there. And now the Lepanto has popped his smoke screen, probably intending to sit in there and wait us out, which is a bit of a concerning decision given that it only lasts for about a minute. I'm now moving back forwards and attempting to press that key, who appears to be trying to get out of here. Unfortunately, there's still no clear shot on that Riga, which is firmly entrenched behind an island over there. But we are still gathering points, and the enemy is slowly using them, and our Max Immelmann is trying to work over those encroaching in the sea cap. I want to get that Lepanto focused down, as it is the most powerful battleship in this area. Although at the same time, our key, the enemy key, has just destroyed our Izumo, which means that we have lost the same number of ships. Lepanto tries to get my broadside and fails, himself being worked down by the friendly Bismarck and the cruiser behind him. He's in a bit of a tricky situation now. I am attempting to move around the island along with the friendly Rune to focus that key over there. I've got his full broadside in my sights, and so switch to armor piercing to see if we can get any citadels with the next salvo. That was a decent salvo on its own there, 3 penetrations for 10,000 damage thereabouts, slowly bringing up the counter. Although of course the Italian battleships have one flaw in their ammunition choices, in that they cannot burn down an enemy ship. You have to keep shooting all the time to stack up your damage. The key takes a bit of a shot from the friendly Bismarck, which is now pushing rapidly up through A, although he's probably going to get reset by the enemy midway. Still, that doesn't matter. The cap's going to be ours any minute now, and the enemy key is rapidly losing. He's in fact getting trapped against the world border there, which has basically sealed his fate. Friendly Rune is just sneaking in front of us like that. Nice little salvo on the enemy key, who probably hasn't got long to live now. Again, the enemy carrier is coming down to do his utmost best to torpedo, bomb and sink every one of us. Going for the Bismarck over there, who manages to repel his attack, but not before taking a little damage. One of our friendly team members seems to be a bit annoyed with what's going over here, but that's not a problem. We are going to be moving up there as soon as we have hold of A. And now that the enemy key is dead, there will not be a problem with that. So I start to make the turn to sail through A cap on my way to B and get my plane into the air to take a couple of pot shots at the Hindenburg, who no doubt believes himself solely out of range. It's me fat fingering my smoke generator when I intended to trigger my repair party, but that doesn't matter as I've still got 2 of them left in this particular instance. Our teams are starting to balance up, and I've realised that I'm slightly out of position here. Ideally, I'd like to be closer to B to deal with any threats there, so I'm now moving up to defend that capture point. The enemy Iowa is closing in, followed by the Hindenburg from behind, and both of those could prove a problem. So I put my plane and start zeroing in on the Iowa's position, trying to work him down a bit. The enemy carrier was going to be spotted in a minute. He's lurking up at C, and he's going to try and drop us again in a short while. Doesn't manage to do the most damage. So we have one more ship than the enemy, but are ahead on capture points. Always a good state to be in. The enemy Io has lost a little bit of health, but he's still quite dangerous, so I start to focus him down with semi-armor piercing. Some people would say switch to armor piercing at this point. I have never yet got a citadel there, and that was 7 sap shells doing 17,000 damage. So, whether that's enough, you decide. Here comes the enemy carrier, and he's targeting our battleship up there, but he's all been shot down. After that nasty salvo on the Iowa, he's been further worked down by a couple of cruisers and battleships sitting out, and now he has been destroyed by the Stalingrad, that absolute meme of a Russian cruiser. Funnily enough, it can't be bought in the tech tree. I wonder why that could be. Anyway, let's move on to the Amalfi, and behind him the Hindenburg. Going for the Amalfi, but he's just also been deleted by the Stalingrad. The full health Hindenburg is now wisely deciding to kite away from us, but he's well within my range, so I start taking a few shots at him. 4 pens there for a solid 10,000 damage. And the enemy carrier has been spotted lurking in C7. The Stalingrad has finally met his match. I am by now fully engaged in my upwards push to try and deal with all of those ships. And their carrier has noticed this. He's going to start focusing me. But first, the Hindenburg. The Hindenburg is an example of a cruiser that has been power crept, and like most cruisers is not sufficiently equipped to deal with fighting semi-armor piercing rounds. Indeed, one of the massive strengths of the Italian battleships is their ability to deal with cruisers, which is perhaps a little bit overpowered, but dealt with by their relatively low accuracy, which of course will only get better once Deadeye leaves. So there's the enemy midway attempting a drop on me, and I slow down. As a result, he only lands 4 torpedoes out of his maximum drop. But of course the Hindenburg has to set me on fire. That's fine, I have my repair party in my heel, and I'm not going to waste them at this particular moment. It's very tempting to do that at the first sign of a drop, but here's the carrier coming back, and is he going to get a flood on me? I miss a couple and take most of them, and that is indeed a flood. And we're going to deal with that by popping our heel. Again, the Lepanto's good torpedo protection comes in to cover us there. And the Hindenburg, whilst he has tried to heal up a little, has not managed to do anything that's going to save him. I'm using my second smoke now to conceal me from the carrier as he's running up on me, and of course from anything else that might be watching. There's now only 2 ships to R4, and the game should be almost in the bag for us now, unless I make a terrible mistake. I'm currently sitting at 107,000 damage. Hopefully we'll be able to get a bit more before this game ends. So the smoke generator on the Lepanto runs for quite a good time. I think it's 50 seconds. And that's enough to move a surprising amount across the map. There's the carrier again, returning. I'm taking shots out at the Hindenburg to get rid of him. And that does a little bit of damage, but does not outright finish him off. It's enough for him to get off one more salvo before my adrenaline rush bolstered reload kicks in. I turn into his salvos to mitigate their effects. Here comes the carrier for his final drop. Firing the front guns on Hindenburg. That should be enough to kill him, and indeed his fate is sealed. We're on 970 points now. The win is almost in the bag, and that is enough to justify me popping my final heal as we burn. Coming up on the carrier. Are we going to catch the carrier before the end of the match? No, we are not. And that is the end of this battle in Lepanto. In conclusion, given time and good positioning, Lepanto is an enjoyable ship that, provided you keep shooting, will rack up a large amount of damage. The secondaries are good for a laugh when they open up, but think twice about investing in them with your hard-earned commander points. This is the kind of ship that will excel in the later stages of a game once the enemy is less confident about rushing you, so don't think that you're a bow-in tank that can weather multiple enemies forever. With this amount of offensive power comes a great deal of defensive responsibility, and you will get better results by staying mobile and always keeping the enemy wondering where you are. What do I think now that the Deadeye skill is going to be replaced in about 1 month? Well, the Swift and Silent skill is definitely going to provide an assured buff to the battleships when they pop their smoke generators, giving that 10% speed. Is this going to be enough to keep them interesting? That depends on your opinion. If you like their playstyle, you're probably going to like them no matter what happens. And if you don't like them, your opinion is your own. As the Tier 5 and Tier 6 battleships have had buffs, Conte di Cavour having a reload buff, and Andrea Doria having a shell damage buff, is it possible that the remaining battleships will get similar buffs? Only Wargaming knows the answer to that. There's been a lot of mixed feedback around these new ships. In the beginning of the German destroyer event, and now that they are fully researchable, what is going to be the outcome? Only you can decide that. Thank you for watching, and until next time, happy hunting on the high seas.